to our MC class. I am your host, Mighty Flipside. I am an MC from Philadelphia. And welcome back. This is Mighty Flipside. I am here with your MC tutorial, the part 3 of the MC tutorial. What we had in our last class, our first 2 classes. Our first class was basically talking about the history and the importance of being an MC. Our second class is essentially was talking about how to answer the first question, or we had a question that we had you in number 1, class 1. We had a question that you had to answer. And according to how you answered that particular question, that question was the most important part of our journey here. If you answered that question in part 1, it'll shape how you are working in this part of the rest of the class. Again, this is 6 classes. Part 1, we answered our first question. Part 2, we started introducing ideas of how to do word exercises and how to memorize your rhymes with a process that I refer to as stress. You can look at class 2 to understand what I mean by stress. Stress is a process that you use to memorize your rhymes. We talked about what actually counting the music is. When I say bars, I'm referring to how the songs that you're writing are measured. Each essentially, what we're trying to do is establish how to write 16 bars. We showed you last week how to count bars. We asked you to basically take one of your, according to your answer of the first question of part 1, go and do some research about some rap lyrics that you want to memorize, put that to memory, and commit that to memory. If you wanted to practice that song that you remember, that song that you remembered over and over and over again, so it is trapped in your mind. Today, we're going to start writing on our own. Now, we're not going to be writing in our own voice. We're going to be writing according to how we answered our first question in part 1. If you don't know what the question was, please watch class number 1. It's a really important part of the journey. Make sure that you are following and answering the question. So what we're going to do today is start writing in the voice according to your question that you have answered. We're going to start writing in that particular voice. And the way that you do that, we're going to talk about a few things of getting started in the writing process. So, and today we're going to be talking about the writing process, how to get started. We're going to talk about how to establish counting bars. We're going to talk about coming up with first lines, which is a very tricky part of songwriting, coming up with the first line. We're going to talk about your word choice, how important your word choice, the words that you use. We're going to talk a little bit about the beat count. And what I mean by beat count, as far as your words are concerned, how your syncopated rhymes or lyrics are flowing over the music. We're going to talk about a little bit about your cadence, or how you rap over the beat. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about how reading influences, how reading literature, books, particularly reading books, helps use the mind muscle to just get your brain working so you can be in a creative space to write more colorful, vivid things. We're going to use the idea of stress, and we're going to be talking about your rhyme book, which I hope that you have, that I asked you to get last week. You have to get your rhyme book. And we're going to go back to the exercise of 2 words. I know that's a lot, but part 3, today's lesson, we're going to be going over all those things today. So before we get started, we wanted to make sure that you have an opportunity to get a chance to learn the music. So I have gone over and found some music that we're going to be using today. This is Groove Drum Beat Track 90 BPM. I'll have that link in the description so you can practice some of your rhymes. I'm going to have that in this session here. I'm going to put that link in the description later on. And I'm going to use this beat to practice over. All right. Now, this is just a drum beat. 90 BPMs. All right. All right. Now, the reason why I use this drum beat is because I wanted to show you how we can start counting the bars. All right. Now, when you hear this drum beat, you'll notice that you hear the big crash or the crash cymbal. All right. That crash cymbal is important. That is the 1. All right. We start with the 1. We got a shout out from Amber Darko Stopper. Hey, Amber. We're going to start from the 1. All right. When you hear, let me just paste that link in the description right now so you can practice along a little bit later. So you're going to hear the cymbal crash. That is the 1. All right. And you want to start basically, since you're a beginner at writing rhymes, you want to be able to start your rhymes there. Okay. All right. At this time, you can anticipate it. All right. So we're going to start that as 1. All right. We're going to count 4 bars right now. And this is how you count the 4 bars. After I hear the crash come again, we're going to start counting bars with me. All right. We're going to write 4 bars. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. See how the drum cymbal comes in? So now we start writing. How do I get my rhymes to go in that order? So rap lyrics oftentimes have a rhyme scheme. I say one line, and then I come with a line that rhymes with it. Okay? So I wrote a little bit of something earlier so you can see how this works. And again, make sure you have your rhyme book. This is the rhyme book that I asked you to make sure that you have, that you're working with. This is a rhyme book that I carry with me all the time. Okay? And the first line that I wrote here is this. There was no prize like the present. This is Mighty Flipside with the essence. All right? This is Mighty Flipside from the essence. Now you notice how present and essence is the rhyming scheme of this song. All right. The very simple kind of flow. So have you start out. All right. There was no prize like the present. This is Mighty Flipside from the essence. Those 2 lines that I had, that this is Mighty Flipside. There was no prize like the present. That was 1 line. This is Mighty Flipside of the essence. All right. That's 2 lines. Those lines rhymed. Most of the time when you're starting out, the lines that rhyme are going to be represented as 2 bars. So if I get a line that is going and a line that rhymes, you're 2 bars in to your 16-bar rhyme. So if you think about it, if you rhyme again, that will be your 4 bars. Okay? So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to put this beat back on and have you practice. Now we're going to show you, this is just having you understand the rhyme scheme pattern, how to get to the point where you can shape 16 bars, all right? So let me put the beat back on. There is no prize like the present. This is Mighty Flipside from the essence. When I grab the mic, I feel like a king. Sit back and let me do my thing. All right. So what I did was I rhymed once. I did a line and I rhymed it. That was 2 bars. I did a line again and I rhymed that. So now I'm up to 4 bars. Okay. I'm just showing you how to measure out and count your rhymes at this point. At this point, I'm just showing you how to put the rhymes to the page so you can measure them out. Now, this is a personal technique that I use. There's a lot of different techniques that a lot of different people use that probably work for them, that's good for them, but this is a technique that I use and that my students have found very effective. So, if I come with the first line, there is no prize like the presence. This is mighty Flipside from the essence. When I grab the mic, I feel like a king. Sit back and let me do my thing. All right, so that was one line, one line, one line, one line. 4 lines end up being 4 bars. Now, when I write my songs, this is why you have to have your book with you at all times. When I write my songs, again, this is a technique that I personally use. Every time I get to the 4th bar of something, I personally write a number 4 at the end of that scheme. So I know from this point on, I have 12 bars left to make sure that I have a 16. That's a personal technique that I use, because sometimes, things happen. I'm a dad. My little guy is running around downstairs. So if I need to go in the middle of something, I have to go. If I come back to my rhyme, where was I? How much time do I have left? Or how many bars do I have left to make an established 16? It'll be there. So that is how to show you how to get your rhymes to be in a scheme that you can measure. This is not necessarily about what the bars are yet. We're not going to talk about that yet. This is just to show you how to use the bars in a scheme. Now, some of you may have noticed that I changed the way that I rhymed a couple times. That's fine. That's going to come up. Just make sure that you capture the words on the page, all right? As you get better, as you keep working on this, as you apply stress, the game stress, to memorize these things, you'll be able to speak them a lot freer, all right? So let me just do it one more time, and I'm going to start showing you after I show you this last presentation, I'm going to show you some techniques to get to the point what is going in the bars that you're writing. Again, let me just show you how to measure it. I'm going to put this beat back up. Just a simple drum beat, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. You ready? There is no prize like the present. This is mighty Flipside from the essence. When I grab the mic, I feel like a king. Sit back and let me do my thing. So that was 4 bars, okay? Just kind of simple lines. Now, I actually would consider those lines to be throwaway lines. I just put them kind of simply in there to put in there. But I did focus intently on the first line. I tried to make the first line really clever, really good, because the first line oftentimes is the thing that's going to make your songs pop out. The first thing that you hear that grabs their attention. We will talk about the finishing part of the 16 bars. That's one of my cheat codes that I have, but we'll get into that later. But the first line that I want you to focus on in your writing your bars is coming up with a clever intro, or rather a introduction, or rather a way to introduce you to the rhyme as a new writer. Now, again, I have a book that I have with me at all times that sometimes I just write down opening lines. I just have a sheet or a back of the book dedicated just to opening lines. They don't rhyme. They don't live anywhere. They're just ways to begin the song. How do you begin a song? Well, how do you begin anything? How do you begin any conversation? Hello, my name is blah, blah, blah. That is a great way to start a rhyme. So Hello? Hello, my name is Flipside. Hello, my name is Mighty Flipside. All right. Good. Very simple. But it's not really, yeah, sure, it's your name. But placing that at the very beginning of the song is a great way to intro your songwriting. Now, can you just come out and jump in the middle of an idea? Some rappers do that. There's one particular rapper that I love a lot by the name of MF Doom, who just by design just jumps right into the middle of a song without even using an intro. That's kind of like his style, but he's doing it because he knows he's breaking the norm. We're not breaking norms right now as a beginner of a writer. We're trying to ease you up into something that's kind of simple. Hello, my name is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the, okay, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. All right. Welcome to the show. Just come up with lines. Try to think of, don't even think of them as lines. Have a list of 10 ways to intro or introduce yourself, ideas, a situation. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury is a great way to put ladies and gentlemen. Of the jury. All right. Now I'm literally just writing them down as ideas for songs in the future. Now that's thing I have to think of a clever, a clever line. So there is no there is no better gift than time itself. I think about that. There is no prize like life. There is no prize like the present, is how I started my song. There is no prize like the present. And that is what we call in songwriting a double entendre. Because if I say there is no prize like the present, what I mean is there is no gift. No, there's no better gift than living the life that we have right now. But a prize and a present are kind of like the similar ideas. So although those were throwaway bars just to get you kind of started, I really did focus on the intro line. All right. Let me just show you again. If you're starting out, I put the first line is, there is no prize like the present. This is Mighty Flipside from the Essence. When I grab the mic, I feel like a king. Just sit back and let me do my thing. All right. And that was 4 bars. Now, when you are creating your own 4 bars for this week, I want you to do it in the style according to how you answered the question in part 1. I really want you to think about that. I want you to commit these 4 bars to memory by the process of stress. And for those who were not here or don't remember what stress is, you have to be able to take the 4 bars that you wrote and commit them to memory. Just memorize them. But see if you can, when you do that, commit them to memory and do them from the page. And you have to run through them 3 times in a row, without messing up or flub or stutter or anything. Just get them through just run through them 3 times in a row. Just kind of rehearse them, write them down, get them in your mind, and run through it 3 times in a row. If you do it the first time and you don't mess up, second time you don't mess up, third time you mess up, you have to start the process all over. If you can comfortably get through this process 3 times in a row without messing up, not only will you remember the verse that you have to perform, you'll have it locked in your mind forever. It's a technique that I've been using for a while. I call it stress. After you get to this process, it'll never leave your mind. Run through it 3 times without messing up, and it gets a little stressful because you get kind of like, oh, I can't. It's like after a certain amount of time, you get stressed out. That's it. You keep building more and more and more and more and more in your mind. A lot of you old timers remember when we used to have to dial a phone number. We had to dial a phone number, and we did it so many times. Oh, I messed it up. What was that number again? And after an amount of time, there's some numbers that we just remember from our childhood that we still, to this day, they're locked in our mind. This process that I'm showing you, and if you're young, you don't understand, you can ask your parents or grandparents what we're talking about. But this technique will allow you to remember this thing forever. Okay. All right. So we have a little bit more time left. What I want you to do for next week, have these 4 bars written in the voice according to the question that you answered in number 1. The question that you answered in number 1 will shape and design how you write this 4 bars today. Do it in the same voice of how you answered the question in week 1. Do it in that voice. Don't do it in your own voice. Do it in the voice that you've dedicated to, that the question that was answered in week 1. You can now apply that vision in the way that you're counting and writing these bars. Okay, for 4 bars. These 4 bars are what you do. 4 bars that I want you to do. Work on the first line, a clever first line. Have it be an intro. And we are going to try to learn a word this week. Learn a new word this week. Not only do I want you to learn the word and kind of just spit out the definition, I don't want you to do it like that, because that's kind of cheating. Try to incorporate it in your conversation. Find a new word this week. Find a new word that has something to do. Now, I'm kind of torn if I want to give you a word. I think that's a little bit kind of cheating, but I think you should find a word. Find a word and not only have a word that you're going to use for the week. Decide that you're going to incorporate this into your vocabulary and you're going to use it forever. I remember when the first time I learned the word truncate, I thought that was a really cool word. Truncate means to make something smaller. And then you start seeing it everywhere. I started seeing truncate when I was making making beats, and you had to truncate the file. And it was exciting to have a new word in my vocabulary, and then I can use it over and over again. Finding a new word in your vocabulary and see if you can use it comfortably in your life. And, maybe you get into your rhyme, maybe it won't. But this week, learn a new word. Next week, learn another word. And just keep building on that. Pretty soon, you'll have a very amazing vocabulary. You'll be able to refer to things and understand concepts a little better if you know the words a little bit more. All right. Now, so before we start learning your bars, we're going to talk a little bit about the cadence. The cadence is how you rap over the beat. Now, I had this groove picked for a reason. There is basically no melody. It's just a drum pattern. All right. Now, you notice that I kept changing how I do the rhymes. All right. There is no prize like the present. This is mighty Flipside from the essence. When I grab the mic, I feel like a king. Sit back and let me do my thing. So that's one way to do it. That's one way to do the kind of cadence. Hey, Bobby. My son is here. All right.
What?
Say hi.
Hi.
There is no prize like the present. This is mighty Flipside from the essence. When I grab the mic, I feel like a king. sit back and let me do my thing. So that's one way to do it. And you notice that I'm going over the beat, kind of staccato. There is no prize like the present. You're using your work. All right. Yes, the homework, there is homework. There is no prize like the present. All right. That the way I'm singing the lyrics over the music, that is essentially my cadence. And I want you to practice you doing your verses over the beat. Now, since last week you memorized a 16 from someone else, you can practice that 16 over this beat. The 4 bars that you're writing and your own, you're the new bars that you're writing this week, the 4 bars you're writing in someone else's voice, you can practice over this beat. And try to get to the point where you're memorizing, memorizing these verses. Okay? So I want you to, for homework, practice your 4 bars over the beat that I sent you in the description. Practice the rhyme that you memorized last week over this beat. And just listen to the way that you're delivering the rhymes over the beat. Now, if you're having trouble with finding the beat or not knowing where to start, go back to your reference rhyme. That's why the reference rhyme is important. Listen to the reference rhyme that you had to memorize from someone else. Listen to that. Try to mimic as much as you can from that particular situation and just apply it. Now, if you memorize it and do it over this beat, that's a great step. You are learning the mechanics of how to ride the beat. You're learning how to take these rhymes over the music, and that's one of the most important parts. So, before we go, just want to let you know that hip hop is music, and music is art, and art is beautiful. And you're going to use the music to change the world and fight against all kind of craziness. All right. So that being said, remember to always stay true, always stay tuned, and to always stay on the beat. Please submit your emails to facebook.com/rock2future. And we'll talk to you next week. This is Mighty Flipside. Sign off. Peace and love.